At 39 years old, Bruno Mars has finally broken his silence. Behind the dazzling Grammys, the record-breaking hits, and the sold-out arenas lies a story few could ever imagine. The story of a boy who performed 1,000 shows before turning 10. A teenager who slept in abandoned zoos. A man who lost everything to gambling, and who became the subject of a rumor so wild, fans believed it instantly. What Bruno revealed at this stage in his life wasn't just about money, fame, or even heartbreak. It was about childhood trauma, addiction, and the dark family secret he carried for decades. This is the untold truth of Bruno Mars. Peter Gene Hernandez was born on October 8, 1985, in Honolulu, Hawaii. But the world would never know him by that name. Instead, they would know him as Bruno Mars. Before he was old enough to write his name, Bruno was already on stage. At just 4 years old, he was the star of his family's band in Waikiki. His tiny frame was dressed in a glittery Elvis-style jumpsuit, his hair slicked back, his voice commanding. They called him Little Elvis. And it wasn't just a gimmick. He was that good. In 1990, at the age of 5, Bruno performed at the Aloha Bowl halftime show in front of 40,000 people. At 6, he appeared on the Arsenio Hall show. By 7, he landed a small role in the film Honeymoon in Vegas, and joked later that it was his first Vegas residency. By the time he turned 10, Bruno had already performed nearly 1,000 shows. For most children, playtime was recess. For Bruno, it was rehearsals and standing ovations. But when Bruno was 12, everything changed. His parents divorced, the family act fell apart, and the lights went out. Literally. The boy who had once lit up arenas was now homeless. He, his father, and his brother slept in a broken-down Cadillac, on rooftops, and even inside an abandoned bird zoo. Bruno later recalled the eerie sound of peacocks screaming through the night as he tried to fall asleep. Showers weren't in bathrooms. They snuck into hotel pools to wash. Dinner was often Spam musubi from 7-Eleven. For 5 months, they lived without electricity. Bruno practiced guitar under the moonlight because they couldn't afford an amp. At school, classmates teased him for wearing thrift store clothes. But rather than give in, Bruno fought harder. He earned $75 a night impersonating Michael Jackson at local shows, money he used to pay for demo tapes and bus fare. That hunger, that relentless drive, was forged in struggle. In 2003, Bruno made the boldest decision of his life. At 18 years old, with just $600 and 3 demo CDs, he left Hawaii for Los Angeles. His first year was brutal. He moved between 4 different places, including a $40 a night motel and a cramped Koreatown studio he shared with 6 other men. At one point, he lied his way into a DJ job, even though he'd never touched DJ equipment. He lasted 2 nights before getting fired. Sometimes his only meals were 99-cent tacos from Jack in the Box. When Motown signed him in 2004, Bruno thought he'd made it. But 9 months later, they dropped him without releasing a single track. Humiliated, he'd already told his family he was signed. But that failure turned out to be a blessing. That same year, Bruno met Philip Lawrence. Both had just been dropped by their labels. Both were broke, and both were determined to prove the industry wrong. They started writing songs in Philip's beat-up 1999 Toyota Corolla, parked outside a tiny Hollywood studio. They couldn't afford rent, so they paid the studio owner in burritos from 7-Eleven. They called themselves the Smeezingtons, and they worked obsessively, 10 hours a day, 6 days a week. They studied more than 1,000 hit songs before even attempting their own. Eventually, their persistence paid off. They sold a song for $20,000, just enough to avoid eviction. Then came their big break, the chorus for Flo Rida's Right Round. It sold 636,000 downloads in its first week, a digital record at the time. Then came Nothing on You with B.O.B. By 2010, Bruno Mars wasn't just another struggling songwriter. He was on the verge of becoming a star. Bruno's first EP, It's Better If You Don't Understand, barely made a ripple. But later that year, he dropped his debut album, Doo-Wops and Hooligans. It was made on a budget of just $70,000. No samples, no shortcuts. And yet it went platinum 7 times over in the US alone. The single Just the Way You Are became one of the best-selling digital tracks of all time. His follow-up, Grenade, hit #1 in 15 countries. By 2011, Bruno had sold more than 15 million downloads worldwide, earned 7 Grammy nominations, and won Best Male Pop Vocal. He was only 25. Billboard named him their top Hot 100 artist. The IFPI called him the world's best-selling artist of the year. But even as his career skyrocketed, his demons lingered in the shadows. Bruno admitted he had started gambling before he was even old enough. At one point, he lost everything in a poker game. In 2024, a shocking rumor surfaced. Bruno Mars owed $50 million to MGM Resorts after piling up gambling debt. The claims spread like wildfire. Hashtags like Bruno Broke trended. Reddit threads speculated that MGM practically owned him. Talk shows picked it up. Shannon Sharpe even told his audience he'd heard Bruno once lost $17 million in one night. The rumor was perfect for headlines. A pop star singing about gold and riches, secretly drowning in debt. But MGM quickly issued a statement. They told Forbes and Billboard that Bruno owed them nothing. Their exact words, no debt. Still, Bruno didn't release a boring denial. Instead, he laughed it off. At one Vegas show, he looked out at the crowd and said, "Ever since they said, I'm on the hook for $50 million, my phone's been dry. Where my friends at when I'm up?" The clip went viral, racking up millions of views. Months later, he joked again on Instagram, "Keep streaming. I'll be out of debt in no time." Whether true or not, Bruno had turned scandal into free publicity. But the reason so many believed it? The math added up. Vegas high rollers often bet $50,000 a hand. Lose that 1,000 times, and suddenly $50 million isn't so far-fetched. In 2011, Bruno met Jessica Caban in a New York restaurant. They locked eyes for nearly an hour before speaking. Soon after, she moved across the country to be with him. For over a decade, Jessica was his quiet anchor. She rarely appeared at public events, but Bruno once called her my rock. Yet in late 2024, fans noticed something strange. Jessica's anniversary posts vanished. By Christmas, she was with her parents in Puerto Rico, while Bruno played New Year's Eve in Vegas. In January 2025, a fan asked her directly if she and Bruno had split. Her reply, "I will always celebrate and be happy for all of his continued achievements." From afar. Just 15 words, but they shook fans worldwide. For the first time in 13 years, it seemed Bruno and Jessica were living separate lives. Neither has confirmed the breakup. They still co-own their home. They still like each other's posts. But whether they are together or apart, only they truly know. Whatever happened in his personal life, Bruno's career only grew stronger. Locked Out of Heaven gave him his 4th #1 within his first 2 years, a feat even Michael Jackson never accomplished. Unorthodox Jukebox blended 9 genres and sold millions. Then came Uptown Funk in 2014. It stayed at #1 for 14 weeks, becoming one of the most successful songs of the decade. His 2016 album 24K Magic swept the Grammys, winning Album, Record, and Song of the Year. The world tour grossed $367 million. So what did Bruno Mars finally confirm at 39? That behind the rumors and the riches, behind the heartbreak and the headlines, is a man who never stopped performing, even when life knocked him down. The boy who sang as Little Elvis became the man who turned scandals into jokes, heartbreak into songs, and poverty into platinum. Bruno Mars is proof that resilience, reinvention, and rhythm can overcome anything. And maybe, just maybe, the greatest show he ever put on was surviving his own story. What did you think of his story? Subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching All Media Pulse.